In the quiet towns and bustling college campuses of 1970s America, a new kind of darkness was taking hold. It didn't lurk in the shadows. Instead, it walked in broad daylight, armed with a disarming smile and an air of sophistication. It had a name: Ted Bundy. He was handsome, intelligent, and deadly. Ted Bundy, the man who fooled everyone. To the world, he was a promising young law student, a political volunteer, a devoted boyfriend. He was the kind of man you'd trust, the kind of man you'd never suspect. But beneath this carefully crafted facade was a monster, a predator who stalked the innocent and reveled in their fear. This is the story of how his charm became his deadliest weapon, and how one of America's most notorious serial killers hid in plain sight. The timeline of terror began in the Pacific Northwest in 1974. Young women, bright and full of promise, started disappearing. One by one, they vanished without a trace. Linda Ann Healy, a student at the University of Washington, was one of the first. She disappeared from her basement bedroom in the middle of the night. Then came others: Donna Manson, Susan Rancourt, Roberta Parks. The pattern was horrifyingly consistent. They were all young, attractive women with long, dark hair parted in the middle. Panic began to spread across college campuses. Police were baffled. There were few clues, no witnesses, and no signs of forced entry. The only common thread was a mysterious man, described as handsome and charismatic, sometimes seen with his arm in a sling or on crutches, asking for help. He was polite, articulate, and completely non-threatening. Women who offered their help were never seen alive again. This friendly stranger was Ted Bundy, and his deception was his hunting technique. He exploited their kindness, luring them to his Volkswagen Beetle, a car that would later become a symbol of his horrific crimes. What made Bundy so terrifying was his duality. By day, he was a rising star. He worked for the Republican Party in Washington state and was praised for his intelligence and dedication. He was enrolled in law school at the University of Utah, planning a future in politics. His longtime girlfriend, Elizabeth Klopfer, saw him as a loving partner, even though she harbored deep-seated suspicions she couldn't quite explain. She even reported her fears to the police on multiple occasions, but her descriptions of a seemingly normal, aspiring lawyer didn't fit their profile of a vicious killer. They dismissed her calls, unable to believe that a man like Ted could be responsible for such heinous acts. But the facade was crumbling. In August 1975, Bundy was pulled over by a police officer in a suburb of Salt Lake City. The officer grew suspicious when Bundy tried to flee. A search of his car revealed a chilling collection of items: a crowbar, a face mask, rope, and handcuffs. He was arrested, but only for evading an officer and possessing burglary tools. It was a minor charge, but it put him on law enforcement's radar. The real breakthrough came when Carol Duranch, a young woman who had narrowly escaped his clutches months earlier, identified Bundy in a police lineup. She recounted the terrifying story of how he had impersonated a police officer, convinced her to get in his car, and then tried to handcuff her. She fought back with everything she had and managed to escape. Her testimony was crucial. In 1976, Ted Bundy was convicted of aggravated kidnapping and sentenced to prison in Utah. For a moment, it seemed the nightmare was over. But Ted Bundy was not an ordinary criminal. He was a master manipulator, and his prison cell couldn't hold him. He began planning his escape. Refusing to be represented by a lawyer, he was granted access to the law library at the courthouse in Aspen, Colorado, to prepare for his upcoming murder trial. During a recess, he simply jumped out of a second-story window and ran for the mountains. He was on the loose for 6 days before being recaptured. It was a bold move, but his next escape would be even more audacious. 6 months later, in December 1977, Bundy escaped again, this time from a jail in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. He had sawed a hole in his cell ceiling and crawled through the ventilation system to freedom. This time, he wouldn't be caught so easily. He made his way to Florida, a state where no one knew his face. Under a new name, he found a place to live near Florida State University in Tallahassee. The monster was free, and he was about to unleash his most brutal and infamous attack. On the night of January 15, 1978, Bundy broke into the Chi Omega sorority house at FSU. In a frenzied 15-minute rampage, he attacked 4 young women as they slept, killing 2 of them, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy. The savagery of the attacks was beyond comprehension. He then moved on, breaking into a nearby apartment and attacking another student, who survived, but was left with permanent injuries. The Chi Omega massacre sent shockwaves across the country. The charming killer had revealed his true, monstrous nature. Just a few weeks later, Bundy's reign of terror claimed its final victim. He abducted 12-year-old Kimberly Leach from her middle school in Lake City, Florida. Her body was found weeks later. The abduction of a child marked a new low, even for Bundy, and it galvanized a massive manhunt. His luck finally ran out in February 1978. A police officer in Pensacola spotted him in a stolen car and, after a struggle, placed him under arrest. This time, there would be no escape. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The most damning was a bite mark left on the body of Lisa Levy, one of the Chi Omega victims. Forensic odontologists matched the mark to Bundy's distinctively crooked teeth. It was the physical proof that finally tied the man directly to the murders. The trial was a media circus. Bundy, ever the narcissist, chose to represent himself again. He tried to use his charm on the jury, the judge, and the cameras. He cross-examined witnesses, smiled, and acted with an air of arrogant confidence, but the evidence was undeniable. The world watched as the handsome law student was exposed as a cold-blooded killer. He was found guilty of the Florida murders and sentenced to death. From death row, Bundy continued to play games with the media and law enforcement. For years, he denied his guilt, maintaining his innocence. But as his execution date neared, he began to confess. In a series of chilling interviews, he admitted to dozens of murders across multiple states, finally giving a glimpse into the vast scope of his crimes. He calmly recounted his gruesome acts, showing no remorse, only a detached, analytical interest in his own depravity. Investigators believe he may have been responsible for 30 or more murders, though the true number will never be known. On January 24, 1989, Ted Bundy's life came to an end in the electric chair at Florida State Prison. Outside, crowds gathered celebrating the death of a man who had brought so much pain and suffering. But his execution didn't erase the questions he left behind. How could someone so normal, so intelligent, and so charming be capable of such profound evil? Ted Bundy's story is a terrifying reminder that monsters don't always look like monsters. They can be our neighbors, our colleagues, our friends. They can wear a mask of normalcy, fooling everyone around them. Ted Bundy's charm hid the darkest truth. Evil can wear a friendly face. Thank you for watching. If you found this documentary compelling, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the cases that shaped history. Stay safe and stay aware.